longest river in the United States descends from the Rocky Mountains and travels for over 2,000 miles across the country, where it joins the Mississippi in the state of Missouri. For over 12,000 years, humans have depended on the river's life-bringing water in the company of wolves, bison and a plethora of other living creatures. Early in the development of the country we know today, geographers were aware of the Missouri and pondered the possibility of a linking waterway travelling west that could allow much of the crossing of the continent to be done by water. In 1804, the Cora discovery led by Lewis and Clark set out to prove this theory correct. Although their historic expedition showed such a route did not exist, it mapped out much of the interior, opening the way for others to follow. First were the fur trappers. They plied the waterways in their canoes and keelboats, transporting their valuable cargo back from whence they came. This prompted the steamboat era, transporting trade goods to the native tribes in return for furs and pelts to be sold in the city markets. These fuel-hungry vessels attracted a new entrepreneur called woodhawks, who harvested the vast forest of cottonwood trees, processing the wood into cords and selling it to the ever-needy paddle boats. Hardy folk known as ranchers and farmers set up homesteads along the way. However, once gold was discovered in the state of Montana, it wasn't long before a railroad was punched through, ending the illustrious days of the steamboats and setting in motion a new chapter in the land's long history. Greetings there, I am Mr. Foreman.
And I'm Summer Whelms, and that's Cricket there in the back.
We're on our way to a little town called Fort Benton in Montana to paddle the upper Missouri River.
The section we're doing is just under 150 miles, so we like to take things slow. We're going to give ourselves about 2 weeks to do it. Due to hostilities with local tribes, overland travel for outsiders was perilous, and this little town was as far upstream as the steamboats could reach. Originally a fur trading outpost, it became a boom town when gold was discovered in the 1860s. This resulted in a huge influx of miners, merchants, and ladies of negotiable affection. The population growth gave Fort Benton the title of the birthplace of Montana.
I think what we'll do is cut across to the right hand side because it looks like there's a sandbar there, yeah.
Very good load.
Yeah. A week or two it should be a lot lighter. Oh, probably go that way to the left, eh?
Yeah.
No, we handled that all right. I think we've learned a few tricks from the Allagash. We're only 5 or 6 miles downstream, but we're going to call it an early day, I hope. We're looking at that embankment right there at the split of the river where there's a big stand of cottonwood trees. Oh, my goodness.
Well, it's a nice little island and the trees are beautiful, but it's a little bit too overgrown for camp, so I think maybe we need to keep looking.
We thought we were going to be in for an easy first day, but you saw how overgrown the other campsite was, and all the banks are like that, overgrown with this thick, nasty grass-like stuff. So we've already done 11 miles. It's not looking good.
The Missouri has a deceptively strong current, and we attempt our spin about and Dr. Shaw technique. The execution of this manoeuvre does not go to plan, and we miss our mark, washing up on shore a ways downstream.
All right.
Oh.
I mean, it's not awesome, but it'll do. I'm ready to stop.
So I think with a shovel we can clean up some of these rocks.
Yeah.
Somebody's camped here.
Yeah. Must not be horrible-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
On ground like this, the swag would be fine, but it's not here. The Thermarest, while a great lightweight option, are much less forgiving on stony turf.
Yeah, I just hope we got the right tent poles.
Good time to put on the spuds?
Yeah, I think so. Anything special going on the chicken?
Nope. I'll just throw it on and then sauce it up later. One thing that stands out in the wilds of Missouri are the calls of the coyotes. Exciting and eerie, multi-pack choruses echo off the cliffs both day and night. We're just starting off on day 2, and the current is so fast we don't even really need to paddle. It's kind of crazy, and it's very relaxing. Our second day on the river is easygoing and ends alongside an imposing wall of rock. On the opposite bank is our night's accommodation, a clear, flat space beneath some cottonwood trees. Above the cliffs, the arid plateau reveals itself and stretches out to the horizon.
Bald eagles. The Loma Bridge, leading to a small town of the same name near Wood Bottom, close to the junction of where the Marias River joins the Missouri. Our plan today is to make some miles, so we have to keep moving, passing beneath the low cables belonging to the first of several ferries. You wouldn't want to hit these in a fast-moving vessel. They'd take your head clean off. After 20 miles or so, we pass by one of the more civilised river camps called Coalbanks.
worry about firewood. Mwah.
Well, where are the poles in the bag?
Certainly hope so. Hopefully the cottonwood branches just don't fall down on us. They're the ones that are notorious for dropping their limbs, right? That was very high, Cricket. That was very high.
All right, there we go.
Crumbs on my side.
Well, it's been a long day. We originally allocated ourselves a 20 or 22 mile section to get to a place called Coal Banks, which is a public access campground. And as we arrived, we saw the RVs and the caravans rolling in, and we kind of figured that if you're out on a multi-week excursion, you're looking for more sort of remote and quieter camping areas. So we pushed on another 5 miles to where we are now. Yeah. Now the trouble with the Missouri is a lot of it's locked up in private property, so you just can't camp wherever you choose on the side of the river. Now there are public lands scattered about here and there, and as we've seen, it's quite overgrown and wild, making the camping experience quite horrid. So to some degree, you are restricted to the campgrounds that are allocated along the side of the river.
As we understand it, today was the day that we entered the part where most people start their trip. When we get to Judith Landing, which is our halfway point, that seems to be the real highlight of the trip. So it's going to take us a while to get there. It certainly took us a long time to get here today, but I think it's going to be worth it.
Tired.
I'm exhausted. It's been a long damn day.
Cricket's already called it quits.
I'm jealous.
Along the banks of the rivers and on the islands, we'll see mature groves of cottonwood trees, and they would have been much more extensive than prior to the steamboat era. Now, for these trees to reproduce adequately, they require seasonal floods that sweep through, but don't happen anymore because the river is now dam regulated. So what we have here at the little campsites are little small cottonwood trees that have been planted by local management, and they have PVC pipes extending deep down into the soil to ensure that water gets to their roots.
Give or take, by around mile 50 of the journey, the countryside begins to transform, and we enter the aptly named White Cliffs section. Blankets of cloud and an increase in wind signify some unsettled weather conditions.
Eagle Creek flows through a gorge behind us into the river, and the mission today for the three of us is to go in there and see if we can find some water. Now, we've brought water with us and we have a refill station halfway through the trip, but in the meantime things are going to get tight, so it would be nice to have a little more. It's the difference between extremely conservative and being frivolous. So we've got a military grade MSR water filter with us, so we should be able to make it good if we can find it. And then you may say, well, you've been floating down a river, a freshwater river for the last 4 days. What's wrong with you? No, well, that's a subject we're going to get to later. Although we find water quite quickly in the creek, it has an extremely strong rural infusion. The culprits are encountered in the vicinity of the crime. The valley floor is dominated by sagebrush. Groves of cottonwood trees are scattered around the edges of this little brook with an understory of snowberry. Among the rocks are juniper pines, yucca, and the fierce prickly pears. Providing a good view of the surrounding valley is a little knoll where a few petroglyphs exist, including a horse, possibly an ungulate, and an inscription claiming to be from 1907.
That'd be a beaver. It's like ringbarked that whole tree, killed it, you think?
Quite a good guess considering there's a beaver dam at our crossing point.
Good job.
Yeah, I think the cow chut's going to be all the way through the creek, so it doesn't really matter where we get our water from, but that dead tree over there and that overhang, we'll call it quits there. Is that a boot in the drink?
Yeah. But I'm dry. I suppose this will be as good as any place to get water. Better than the Missouri River itself. So good flow here, and yeah, I don't know. Time will tell. You want to do the taste test?
Hey, cow shit water. All right. That's actually all right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's a good sign.
There it is.
Although, yeah, your standards are a little bit different than most. Water quality is also given the seal of approval from a varied thrush who seems to be well out of his supposed range, though his standards may also be a little low. One of our biggest constraints for this trip, believe it or not, is water for cooking and drinking. Now, you might be saying, Summer, there's a whole big ass river full of water just behind you, and you would be right. But multiple sources have told us not to consume the water from the Missouri or any of its tributaries. That's because of agricultural and possibly industrial runoff, things like herbicides and pesticides and God knows what else. So we do have a really good water filter, and maybe we'll use that for small streams or springs that we find, but as far as this stuff, I just don't think it can get out all the impurities that it needs to.
It's quite a vile evening. The wind is howling at times. Wilms is cooking soup on the gas tonight. There's no fires. They even got the top on the tent in case it rains. It's looking very ominous. Miserable day.
Due in part to the plethora of things to do around Eagle Creek, we're spending 2 nights here, so we have a whole day. That decision was further cemented by the fact that we are having really strong gusty winds, and it's just going to be an unpleasant day on the river. So right now, our mission is to go find the nearby Slot Canyon and explore that.
If you can get underneath it, you might be able, there's a stepping stone here.
Oh, it's giving me the willies. I haven't watched the film 127 Hours, but I'm familiar with the gist of it. Whew. Yeah, it was a big-ass boulder. Oh, good job. Well, that might be it for the slot canyon.
Yeah, behind us, I've seen it a few times, we get this like intrusion just cutting through a fracture in the white stone. I'd assume it's volcanic, and they're spectacular. They just look like big walls. But to explain any more, well, my geological knowledge is that geology is very complex.
We're fighting a very slight headwind this morning. It's really the first of our trip, so it's not that bad, but it might make things just a little bit more difficult.
Well, departing this morning, 7 miles up the river, we have an attraction called the Hole in the Wall. This is our halfway mark for the day, the Hole in the Wall campsite. They've got a couple of lean-tos there because it's quite harsh. There's no shade. There's nothing. And that little cottage over there looks far from inviting. Wouldn't want to stay in there, would you? Whew. If we had scratch and sniff cards, then yeah, you'd be in for quite the experience.
As we reach the location of Dark Butte campsite, we misnavigate onto a gravel bar, requiring us to tow the boat farther downstream. Cricket fears she may be getting left behind.
You did a good job, Cricket. Good job on the swim. Good job.
Yeah, it got deep, didn't it?
Yeah, good.
Well, deep-ish.
Having set up in a shady spot, our presence attracts the attention of some curious locals. The little dog's unsure of what to make of our inquisitive observers. This river is frostier than it looks, making it the domain of the brave, which is why I choose to remain filtered. Having grown bored, our bovine friends move off for a drink downstream.
Where I need to be, you're there. Oh, I lost my shrimp pattern. Where's my shrimp? Oh. All right, well, we caught one. I actually don't know who this is. He kind of almost looks like a trout. I'm going to put him back. The little dog gets very excited. Oh, they keep spitting at the last. Watch his little cricket. Oh, now I got hooked. Cricket, get out of the way. Hey, it's your fish. Cricket caught a fish. Jack Russell's and fishing. Oh. Oh. What went wrong? Got to stop. Hey, Cricket, we need a wash. We need a wash. And at least that carcass you rolled in earlier has been washed off you. Yeah, they're nearly all gone.
Well, no, they're half gone.
Half gone. I'm only just starting. This is these mussels?
Yep.
Mussel and crackerite and wine. We've been given the wine a bit of a slamming actually. Our 14-day supply won't even last a week, but we're celebrating catching fishes and releasing. Very exciting. I'm amped, the dog's amped, and Summer's putting up with both of us. Oh, cool. You're only going to eat 1 out of 4. 5.
Are there 5?
5 of them.
Oh, I'll have 2 then.
All right, yeah.
Or
Got
1.5 maybe.
All right. Well, me and Cricket can always help. 'Cause
The last camp for us before the halfway point is Slaughter River, situated beneath some massive cliffs on the opposite bank. Dark, moody clouds roll in and amplify the effects of a beautiful sunset.
Coyotes are common but skittish in the state of Montana. They're regarded as pests and not protected. As any dog owner knows, their pets are like their owners and come in a broad range of intellect ranging from smart to dim-witted. These surviving specimens are likely in the upper echelon of that range.
Prairie dogs are a type of burrowing ground squirrel and an important keystone species. They're fascinating little creatures with a complex and extensive vocabulary, even able to alert one another to encroaching danger. Despite the fact that females are only fertile for 1 hour a year, this population looks fairly hardy. That's not the case everywhere, though. The species has lost 95% of their ancestral range, due in part from human development.
Slightly hostile territory. Our arrival at Judith Landing signifies the halfway point of this trip, even though technically mileage-wise we're over that. And it's a nice enough campsite, I have to admit, that there's a caravan over there hooked up to no less than 2 generators, so it might not be ideal.
It's a pretty busy looking place.
Yeah, and
relatively speaking.
It's a weekend too. So how far up the road? 1.5 miles, you think?
That's where the BLM seems to start. Now, that's not saying that there's going to be anything good, but I do see there's a couple of groves of cottonwoods that might offer something.
Near Murray's dugout, and it's probably like
That's an old refrigerator.
Yeah, and it's a stop, so maybe another mile up, 1.5 miles. We've got a water drop here as well we need to collect, and
offloading our trash.
And other than that, I think we might move on and start part 2.